Hello, everybody. I hope you guys are having an amazing day. It is such a pleasure to be here. So we are finally going to resume our 30 days of integrating death and rebirth. And we're going to continue with day 7. Day 7. Now, for those of you that are aware, I have an entire course set up on the website that you can actually access supporting documents, and also the different presentations that I make for this topic are going to be available for you on that portal, and you can check that out on my website. Yeah, so if you guys are curious about that and want to follow along, everything will be in there for you to access. Hello, everyone. So wonderful to see you guys here. It's amazing to see you guys once again, and thank you for joining me. So today's concept of healing trauma, we're going to go really deep into an interesting topic because when I planned this 30 days out, and I'm just going to do a quick recap with you about what these 30 days are going to entail, because it's been a space in between since our last class because of the holidays. Let's go ahead and open that up, and I just want to review really quickly some of the topics that you and I are going to be covering. Everything is outlined in the program, and so just really quickly, day one, we talked about the concept of biohacking change. Number 2, we talked about how to deal with endings. Day 3, we talked about letting go of attachments. Day 4, how to let go of expectations. Day 5, how to trust major transitions. That was a really important one. Day 6, how to embody and program neutrality, and that today, how to heal from trauma. Extremely important in this process of death and rebirth, not just in the waking state, but also through many lifetimes that you learn this. Day 8, we're going to discuss ancestral trauma. Okay, so it's such a big topic that I had to break it in two, right? Because the trauma, which is this immediate trauma, things that we're experiencing right now, and then of course the bigger picture of things, right? So how does that lead? How do we end up with the trauma that we have? This is obviously something inherited, and I will touch on that a little bit in this presentation today. We're also going to talk about how to let go of the old self. Okay, that's a really important one, and actually perfectly in alignment with this new moon and what we're doing energetically in this current moment today, actually, which is the new moon, a very, very powerful new moon in Capricorn, which is actually the beginning and the ending of slow times, because things are going to be moving really fast now, moving forward. And the kind of movement that we're looking at is essentially focused on major ascension. But primarily it's the speeding of manifestation, the speeding of co-creation. So it's important for you to understand the mechanics of how you co-create, so you understand how you're influencing the system and your everyday experiences. And so with that, of course, is the topic of death and rebirth. What are we letting in? What are we letting out? How does that work? How do we attach? How do we entangle? Okay, the next, day 10 is how to accept our shadows. Day 11, how to allow a new self. Day 12, how to integrate the higher purpose. 13, how to deprogram ancestral trauma. That's another layer of it. Day 14, how to heal our family lineage. 15 is aligning with organism cycles of the life and death. Day 16 is aligning the organ with cycles of life and death. 17 is subconscious with the cycles of cycles versus flow. Day 18 is preparing loved ones for death. Day 19 is how we stagnate our soul evolution in lifetimes. And day 20 is how to love unconditionally and freedom. Day 21 is the afterlife, lucidity, and training of that afterlife. A really great precursor to that class is going to be my lucid dreaming class, which is available on the website now that you can check out anytime. And also I talked about it. We had our first Q&A this Monday, and we will be having a second Q&A actually in 2 weeks. So if you are interested in taking that class, you can catch up to the group and join us on, let me just look at the calendar. I believe it's the 22nd. So that will be the second follow-up call for the training of that lucid program. And then on the 3rd of February, I'll actually be teaching part 2 of the lucid dreaming, which goes deep into this exact topic about afterlife lucidity and training. So it'll be a wonderful full-length precursor to that. What is death? We talk about death and what is that exactly? How do we process that and what does it mean? How to transform the fear of death, how to prepare for the emotional trauma, how to heal from loss, how do we lose loved ones, how to accept new experiences, how our choices entangle us into the matrix, how to have successful death, and the biophysics of that, and how to maintain harmony. Okay, so pretty awesome, in my opinion, outline of all of these topics of life and death, and they're going to play a very important role in the kind of work that we're doing. So I'm really happy to connect with you guys and happy to answer any questions that you have about death and the process of death, the healing of death, the transmutation of that process, and our preparation in going into these higher realms. So with that being said, guys, let's get started. So I want to tackle this topic about talking to you about, let's talk about trauma exactly, but I'm going to take it from a different angle today because in this challenge, we're going to talk about the transmutation element of trauma, okay? In many of my videos and many of my classes, I talk a lot about trauma in terms of how epigenetically, we feed into that, we program and we work with that trauma. So a lot of you already kind of understand the bigger picture about how we're processing emotional triggers in the body. So this topic that I'm assessing now in regards to death and rebirth is going to focus specifically on the transmutational process of trauma. Okay, and so I have a presentation that I prepared for you for today because what we want to understand is the transmutational process of trauma it happens in the heart, only in the heart. Okay, that means through love, through unconditional love, is trauma transmuted. And that unconditional love, this love that you feel for yourself, is actually the most powerful healing and also creates an amalgamation effect between the lower dantian, the middle dantian, and the higher dantian, in which all of a sudden the geometry of the body comes into alignment for its most optimum spin. But what I haven't mentioned before in depth is that in order for your merkaba to spin, in order for your energetic body to actually spin, it requires the activation of the heart, the application of the heart, because it is the heart and that heart center, which is the largest electromagnetic field of the body, that will actually make that movement occur for you. Okay, the toroidal process, the toroidal shift in the body is only occurring through that transmutation of the heart. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Hi everybody in the chat, so great to see you all. Love you so much. I'm so happy to have you here. And if you guys have questions, remember, put your questions in capital letters in the chat and I'll be really happy to answer your questions. All right, so let's just take a look at this. Let me just open our presentation. Okay. All right, so hello, Launika Yoli, Christine, Roy Boy, Marilena. So wonderful to see you, John. So great to see you. Wonderful to have you here. Doug Dingup, Timothy Man. So great to see you. Christine, wonderful to see you guys. Welcome, welcome. Jamak, Destiny, Toiture, Destiny, James, Marilena, Alexander. Great to see you guys. All right, and many more. Hello to everyone. So let's take a look at this now, okay? We're going to talk about trauma now. Just really quickly, let's talk about the mechanism of transmutation in the physical body, okay? So let me just open this up so I can manage this easily, okay? So let's talk about first the physical body, okay? The chakra system in the body. Remember that the chakra system is your endocrine system. The endocrine system are the organs in the body that are in charge of creating the biochemical reactions as a response to triggers, external triggers. So the external triggers are brought into the body, vibrational frequency through the emotion, and then processed through the body by first processing through our analytical mind, of course, and how we want to respond to these experiences, and from there triggering the biochemical responses in the body. And so what happens is that every time that one of these glands is activated, you are activating that specific chakra. Okay, so one of those chakras is activating. Now, the way that the gland knows to respond and to react is actually a code, encoded information. And the code, the reason why I say coded, because it's a series of information, a series of data that is input into the body that actually triggers several responses to occur simultaneously. Okay, because every reaction to a trigger, first of all, a trigger is going to trigger one emotion in the body, but it's going to set off a memory, a chain of memory. So, for example, if there is something that makes us upset or angry, the body kind of vibrationally tunes in to all of the memories that are in resonance to that anger and submits a response based on everything that has been integrated from the previous anger and everything that hasn't been integrated from the previous anger. Okay, so essentially we end up responding, reacting as a result of the trigger based on all that information. Now, what happens is that this code, this series of data, which is all of these previous memories, are stored within the multidimensional body. Okay, so the more present these programs are, the more that we run through them through our day, the more physical and embodied they are. Okay, so for example, people that have been, let's say people that are experiencing severe amount of grief, when people experience grief for a long amount of time, it starts to manifest in the physical body as an ache, as a pain, or sometimes it starts with complications in the organs that process this specific emotion. And therefore, that organ and that system, that mechanism that processes that emotion and the chemistry that is tied to that emotion and the organ essentially become overactive. It becomes overactive. So the chakra body also becomes overactive. Okay, so the overactive chakra expands in your field. It expands really big. Okay, and so what happens is that this giant field, chakra field, now becomes the filter of how you see things, because you are utilizing this process very often, all the time, very often. Okay, so the chakra system then is becoming overactive and also denser and denser with the overuse of data that continues to be triggered and stored, because every single experience that we have is vibrational information. Energy cannot just disappear. So let's say you have an emotion, you have an event that has triggered you. Let's say you divert your attention to something else. The fact that you were triggered already created a chain reaction, already created the storage and all kinds of systems reacting to that. So you're not ignoring anything. The fact that you redirect your attention, in fact, you are interrupting your conscious attention to the mechanisms that are happening now mechanically in your body, unconscious, which the side effect of that is that they run the course unconsciously and sometimes uncontrollably, right? So you direct your attention to something else. Let's say you go and go out with buddies, or go out with friends. And this is very common in modern culture, in our modern day culture, through social engineering, that we have been learning through films, through reality shows, through sitcoms, all of these archetypal characters that are shown and taught to us, are always showing us that emotions are overwhelming and life experiences are very difficult to process, and that we need to go drink, for example. I mean, every single time the message is go get a drink, or go smoke, or let some steam off, or find sex, or let find another energy to deplete this stress that you have, to de-stress. So we are programmed subconsciously to believe that in order to process emotions, we have to divert to the external. Because the reaction that we feel in the body feels very physical, we have been programmed that our attention has to be taken out to a physical for a solution. However, that's completely inverted. Okay, so we actually want to understand that every single reaction that we have creates an entire architecture in the body, programming in the body, energetically, biochemical programming, muscle programming, um, thoughts and programs that are triggered, which then result in cultivating certain personalities. And those personalities that we create, that are very strong identities that we really hold on to, are essentially the foundation of the choices that you and I are going to make on everyday life, right? So we make our choices based on these subconscious beliefs about ourselves. So these emotional triggers create very powerful belief systems. Belief systems are not just a thought form. They are a thought form, but there's a bioenergetic side effect to thought forms. They literally take up space within the multidimensional body. And essentially, they store within this more multidimensional body. And the more you suppress the thought form, the more you suppress it over time, over years, that you keep not addressing those little tiny trigger points that you have, you end up having a lot of debris in your multidimensional body. And so what happens in the multidimensional body is that essentially this memory data bank that is stored within the organism begins to stagnate in its ability to spin. What is spin? Let's talk about spin really quickly. Now, every single one of these chakras, we talked, when they're overactive, so let's say you're the yellow chakra, which is the soul, well, in this example, the yellow chakra, which is the solar plexus. And remember, you have to tune in to your chakras, to what kind of frequency you're running there and how you're running it. Because even though each one of those chakras are managing certain ranges of frequency, you, based on your perceptions, programs, and traumas, are going to be either at the higher or the lower end of those frequencies. So you have to check into your chakras. What colors are you running there? What energy, what kind of emotions do you run the most? Okay, so if the solar plexus, for example, which is the house of self-empowerment or disempowerment in the opposite side, is overactive, and we are constantly feeling overwhelmed, we are constantly feeling helpless, hopeless, these kinds of emotions, what happens is that this entire solar plexus, the yellow chakra, is larger than the rest of the body. Okay, now here's another part that's really important for you to understand in the transmutation of trauma. Why am I telling you this? Because every single day in my DNA reprogramming sessions, what we discover in the body is that people are finding emotions in the body that they're like, wow, I feel like this huge blockage in the back of my body. I feel a really heavy blockage, and I have a pain back there, and I can't sleep. Okay, all of these side effects that are happening, if you write them down, and you study the organs and you study the emotions and frequencies, are going to direct you extremely accurately to the root of the cause of the trauma. Okay, the cause of the trigger. And so as we begin to get to know this body, essentially you understand a couple things, that our body is split up in different axis points. Okay, we know that the left side of the body is the feminine, the right is the masculine side of the body. Okay, but we don't talk a lot about the front and the back of the body. We forget to talk about that. The front of the body is the masculine. Okay, the front of the body is the masculine. And I want you to get to know feminine and masculine energies very well. You need to know this when it comes to your body, because this will help you when you're sitting down in meditation, in your stillness, that I hope you're all doing this year, every single day for at least 30 minutes a day, that you actually begin to understand and tune into the subtlety of your energy body, to pick up where your energy is more dense, where it's blocked, and where it's flowing. Okay, so if the back of the body, the back of the body is the feminine, the back of the body. And now let's talk about feminine, masculine energies. Okay, so feminine, the receiver, right? The womb that receives the seed of the male, right? That's the receiving energy. So this is spinning to the left. That's the energy that's spinning to the left, the receiving energy. Okay, so the back of the body is the feminine, and the receiving energy, the feminine, represents the subconscious, the deep subconscious. So everything that you have first received here in the front of the body, okay, so because here's the information comes in the body, perception through the body, and let's say you suppress and ignore, it energetically shifts to the back of the body the more you ignore and suppress it. Okay, so this energy body is pretty magnificent. And remember that you are a toroidal field. The way that your body is moving is in a toroidal motion. Okay, so the way that this spinning here is moving, the least that you are moving your energy body, the least that you will be processing information fluidly to the body. Most people end up blocking, especially the spinal cord, especially the back of the body. All of the pain, the trauma, it gets stuck here in the back of the body. Okay, doesn't go anywhere. So what happens is that the subconscious mind is also the creator. Why? Because remember, the feminine, the back of the body, is the subconscious mind. And where do you manifest? Where do you create? Well, in the spinal cord is the most important source code of your DNA. Okay, in the back of the spine is where from source enters into the body through the pineal gland, through the vagus nerve, all the way into this nervous system of the body, and through the pillar of source cord that runs through your body, is essentially the prime life force energy. And your connection to source is through this clear movement of the spinal cord. So remember, the more people have traumatized, the more fractalized their soul is. And the fractalization of the soul is occurring, the amount of damage that is stored within this entire system in such a way that the energy cannot flow anymore. Okay, it becomes stagnant, doesn't move anymore. So what happens is that we completely come into a, again, we talked about centripetal, and centrifugal movement. We end up completely depleting our life force. Top image here. Exiting, things are exiting, leaving the body. Okay, so what has to happen for this human to heal themselves and to bring themselves back into balance is to identify which one of their chakras is overactive and out of balance. For a lot of us, it's almost every single one, for most of us, okay? And it's important to understand also that we focus the development on every single one of the chakras have to be going through those Kundalini awakenings that so many people talk about. Kundalini awakening has nothing to do with just root chakra. Kundalini means life force. Okay, so the awakening of that, it should be Kundalini opening, right? Kundalini rising, right? When you open up the chakra bodies, every single one of them, by clearing out and rebalancing the imbalances of those chakra organisms, we then open up the channels from which source can actually move in through the body. It's very hard for you to connect to your higher self. It's hard for you to connect to your guides. It's hard for you to have clear intuition. It's hard for you to feel safe, grounded, and on purpose, right? In your mission, in what you're here to do, if these systems are blocked or out of balance. And it really doesn't take much. It can be one or all of them. So if we, and here's another thing, it also can be very hard if you are imbalanced in another way. Let's say, for example, that you spend most of your time in the higher realms, but you're not integrating into the physical body. Okay, you're not integrating what you're practicing in the physical. So again, all of these imbalances are going to cause you not to integrate the higher, the middle, and the lower dantian, because these systems in our body are fractals of the entire universe, fractals of the world. Okay, we hold within the body the key to unlocking the integration and reconnection to the source as we move through evolution, the entire human race, into this state of awakening. But if we are practicing one part of our body and then forgetting about another part of our body, it's just as much as being an unconscious child, right? Because we're kind of barely walking through this world with one of the tools, not all of them. Okay, so it's extremely important that when we're working with the body and when we are talking about the transmutation of trauma, that we understand this mechanism of how we store data in the body. Okay, so let's take it to the next step now. So what happens? Okay, when the chakra system of the body, well, let me actually come back here to talk really quickly about the body, because we need to discuss the merkaba. Okay, the merkaba light body, as you know, the merkaba, which represents light body and the source, is essentially the sacred geometric shape that emerges when we come into full integration, balancing, when we come into harmony. When we are able to enter into that 0 point, let's talk about what is that 0 point. It is the recalibration of our emotional data that brings the body into that 0 point in order to allow to house this sacred geometric expression in the body. Okay, so what does that mean? Now, this merkaba, as you can see, is made up of two different triangles, two pyramids. Okay, now there's very in-depth study into this shape. There's a lot of information here for you to know, but I'm going to quickly run through it just so you can get the most important part for this specific class, today's class. Okay, so each one of these symbols represents the elements. Okay, now the elements, which are the foundation of this construct, the matrix construct, as much are deeply interconnected with the chakra system. The male, the masculine, represents the fire, and the female represents the water. Okay, this is very, very important, because when you look at the light body, when the merkaba light body, let me actually open up, I don't know if I have it in this presentation, but we talked about how when the merkaba is moving through blockages of energy, hold on. Let me see if I can find that. Hold on, guys, really quick. It's a really good visual, and it's a very simple one. So let me see if I can find that for you. Here it is, yeah. Okay. So what happens is that when we are connecting to source, okay, when the merkaba is coming online, okay, these triangles, these vortex, so the triangles, the pyramid, the pyramidal shapes of this energy flow in the body is a result of the natural form of vortices. Okay, so the vortex, which is essentially a toroidal field of energy. Okay, so like this, right? So we have the toroidal field that surrounds the body, which is your entire field around your body. So there's two cones that comes out of this toroidal field. One cone on top, so here's one triangle on top, and here's another triangle on the bottom. Okay, so these are the two opening and closing of your body. Okay, and we have this runway of energy through the body, and this is also how we clean debris out of the body. This is why running energy is so powerful. Okay, remember, when we run energy in the body, we bring and we cycle and we spin energy into this lower triangle from the earth. We bring earth energy into the body and we cycle it around the body, and we bring source energy in through the top triangle, the top vortex opening, coming in through the crown of the head into the body. Now, the openings in our body also are functioning like the toroid, the mouth and the anus, right? All of this cord, this central cord in the center of the body, is the opening and closing of the energy, opening and closing energies of the physical body. They are one organ, one entire organ. We talked about how the sexual organ is connected to the throat. It's also connected to the mouth, right? And so this is why in Qigong and also in pranic healing, it's important that when you're meditating and when you're doing these exercises, that you put your tongue to the tip of your palate, okay, to the top of your palate, because you're closing the circuit of the energy that's running through your body. And there's a lot of really powerful exercises in energy healing that utilize the tongue as a muscle for activating the energy that's flowing through the pineal gland and down the nervous system here into the vagus nerve, into the body. Okay, so essentially this central cord of energy that we have in the body, the toroidal system of your body, is the key to understanding how energy is moving through. Now, all of the vortices in your body, all the chakra systems contribute to the movement of this master toroidal field. They contribute to that. So once again, let's take a look really quickly at the merkaba system. And so what happens really quickly when the lower triangle is completely depleting its life force? Let's take a look at that. Okay, so we talked about the example of the human feeling helpless, right? So when the human is helpless, their solar plexus is wide open and out of balance. And depending on what frequency of helplessness they're holding on to, whether it's a feminine or a masculine imbalanced perspective of the helplessness, inversions of feminine toxic femininity or toxic masculinity, because we express helplessness in different ways. So the way that we're expressing the toxicity will define which side of the body is holding the most out of balance part of that thought form. So let's say the solar plexus is helplessness. If it comes from a toxic femininity, we're going to be accumulating and disrupting the energy field in the left side of the body. So the person is going to be helpless and they're going to be feeling physical side effects on the left side of the body. Okay, so again, for the masculine, same thing. If at the root subconscious belief system, the helplessness is of the nature of the toxic masculinity programs, they're going to start to feel heaviness on the right side of the body. Okay, and vice versa. Both of these energies are affected by the belief, both of them at different ranges. And so your job in the healing is to tune in to where is your perception, where is it toxic and where is it out of balance. So what happens when the solar plexus then comes in to the awareness of this, and they begin to rebalance the solar plexus? Well, it changes, right? So once they remember, okay, this is where ancestral DNA is activated through healing and transmutation. The transmutation of the emotion of being helplessness is only transmuted through the heart center. When the individual remembers that they are their source of protection, their source of abundance, their source of health, there is an implosion mechanism that occurs that redirects the depleting energy into healing. Again, centripetal spin. This centripetal spin that we talk about in the body can only happen when this organism is integrating these elements of the body. So let's go back over here. Every single one of the chakras is an element, is mastering an element as well. Okay, so every single one of these chakras is working with these elements. And in order to activate your merkaba light body, we have to rebalance the chakra system, which means that we rebalance the elements within our body, which means that we are aligning with nature and the natural laws and the natural rhythms, the circadian rhythms of natural law. And this is where we enter harmony. The only way to access this harmonious core center is by accessing this integration. Now, another element to this, every single one of these elements has a platonic solid. The platonic solid, which is connected to the chakra, that's pertinent to the platonic solid, that's pertinent to the element. Let's look at this chart again. We can take the example of fire in the heart. Okay, you see how fire in the heart, and fire is represented by this tetrahedron. When one of your bodies, when your body is overactive in one of these elements or underactive in one of these elements, it begins to take the shape and the form of these elements, which also change and shift the perception of your dimensional expression. They change the way that your body functions. It changes the way that you perceive reality. It changes whether you can travel into the higher realms or not when you're in dream state. A square, for example, cannot enter into the higher octaves. Okay, so any one of these platonic solids make up the geometry that you're holding within your body. This is how I was told and shown by many of my ET contact experiences and the Pleiadians and the councils that I have connected to. The language of the universe is here hidden within this geometric expression. Because depending on the shape of the organisms that we interact with interdimensionally, for those of you that are psychic and intuitive and have your vision cultivated, you can understand what dimension they're coming from, and you can understand their intentions with you, your agreements with them. The more of these, the more of their form and more of their frequency that is more primal, okay, the less they're going to have those complex geometries that allow them to navigate higher frequencies. So this is very important, but this goes really, really deep into the alchemy of our biologies, okay? How our genetics and from all those gene expressions that are turned on and off produce these geometric shapes in the etheric realm. So your physical body essentially is really holding on to this geometry that either allows you to navigate higher realms or not. Okay, every single one of these geometries represents an element, and it is only the integration of all of these elements that allow you to access the whole. Now, even deeper than that, every single one of these sacred geometries are connected to mitosis in the cell. Okay, so when we are born, when we are first created in this universe, how this universe is expressed is by the replication of these fractals of infinite potential, as in a cell that creates these incredible geometric shapes that also is being shown within our genetic construct. Here's a tiny little picture, a video of how this geometric system is formed. So just take one quick minute to observe that. I'm going to turn off the sound because it's just music. But if you can take a look at this really briefly to understand this geometry that you hold within your body. What happens is that when you put this on its side, it actually becomes a diamond shape. And the diamond shape is the integration of the two triangles, the feminine and masculine energies we hold within the body, those two pyramids. The more you activate DNA, the more your geometry changes and activates. Okay, the higher, and I've said this before, but the higher vibrational frequency you are, the more complex your geometry is, because you are essentially going to become a whole and you end up being a sphere. That's why the ancient sages talked about how we become worlds, or we are worlds. We're actually worlds, we're planets, we're universes, we're solar systems, we are universes, galaxies. We are that. And so our brothers and sisters, planets, universes, stars, and those beings are essentially the evolved, they're future aspects of ourselves. Okay, and so you will notice here at the end of this, I'm just going to fast forward really quickly. Look at the complexity of this shape, at how it comes into this higher dimensional. Look at this. This is just one of the most gorgeous shapes ever. But this is essentially this sphere. We become a sphere, a sphere structure. This is how your multidimensional body looks like. You are at the center of this. Okay, and every single point of this sphere that becomes conscious of your fractals is from where you are creating and manifesting. You are also navigating after death. You are moving through here. Okay, this is also how cells replicate in the body. Okay, when we get to higher levels of cell replication, our geometry also shifts. So when you look at the biology of higher dimensional beings, they're also very, very complex organisms in geometry. Okay, so I'll just stop that right there, because let's talk about what happens in the body when you start to activate this, because there's another very important code here, which has to do with the numerical cycles of energy that we are moving through. And a lot of people ask me, you know, what's the evolutionary process of transmuting trauma? Well, the whole point of transmuting trauma is that you activate your chakras, bring them into alignment in order to enter into that implosion of that full spherical awareness and awakening and integration of your whole self. Okay, and so what that will do is that you will be allowed to navigate higher dimensional planes, because you have opened your geometry to access these higher worlds. But you cannot access those higher worlds if you don't embody that. And the proper way of embodying this geometry is by understanding the Fibonacci sequence and the role that it plays in your geometry, your biology as well. It's actually within the integration of these lower bodies that you begin to activate the 8th chakra. As I mentioned before, the 8th is the most important for manifesting and bringing from the non-physical to the physical. Okay, and then it's 13, right? Because 13 dimensional planes within the matrix. The matrix is everything in the 13 and under. Okay, so the 13 and under, we are literally experiencing all of matrix experiences, duality. Above that, you begin to enter into the next octave, okay, which we enter up to the 21st. A lot of my sessions are about activating your chakra to the 24th dimension, because we are literally activating up to the 24 dimensional layers of our expression. This is very important. And of course 34 would be the next level. Okay, so um, don't worry about these colors necessarily. This is just a really good image that depicts the different chakra layers of the upper body. But why is it important right now, specifically, that you activate these higher chakras? Because the entire universe is opening up these dimensional planes. So right now we are more opened up to those dimensional planes than ever before. So your ability to access into those higher dimensional planes is essential for you. The other part of it is that you can only spin properly if you create this geometry and this harmony in your body. Okay, so literally our ability to heal trauma is almost like a mathematical equation. We bring all of the negative numbers of frequency into the 0 point. Okay, that's what we're doing. This is why one of the powerful energy techniques is to learn how to clear energetically. And in my healing sessions, I say all charges down to 0, negative infinite, because we are a network of energy and frequency. And so as you learn how to work and master the energy body, you can create formulas for your healing as well. But I want you to focus on the transmutation process of this, because this is what we're here to talk about today. So let's talk about how we take these frequencies of lower emotion into that 0. The secret is the heart, because the heart, in its shape, in the way that it processes energy and fluids through the body, is also moving at these Fibonacci sequences. It's also moving in this spiral toroidal motions. So anytime that you start to have a heartbreak, anytime that you have blockages in the front, the back of the body, feminine, masculine, this is the center of the heart that becomes extremely disrupted. And one of the reasons why a lot of people are having heart attacks and problems in the heart center, and also with their blood flow, with the flow of that, is because this current number, year 7 and 8, is representing those purification processes of karmic cycles, the infinity karmic cycle. This year, 2024, is number 8. Number 8 is really important because it represents infinity, but it also represents karma, cause and effect, cycles of cause and effect. Okay, cycles of life and death. Okay, so right now what we're experiencing in this moment is that any time that the organism isn't in flow of that life and death, of that infinity cycle of regeneration, it becomes ill and sick and degenerates into a death. And so for a lot of people, really, if we're not really kind of moving up into that state of flow in which we are processing and accepting quickly these processes of life and death, our poor bodies take a really, really stronger hit than ever before, because the manifestation levels, okay, that we are at right now are absolutely instantaneous. Okay, they are instantaneous to the fact that what it means is that high frequency, non-physical frequency emotions become physical quicker. So let's say something got you very angry. Well, the side effect of that is going to hit your body immediately. Okay, and the more that you store that same emotion over and over in the body, the more it's going to affect you in the body. So it's very important to begin to understand how to change that. Okay, so how do we activate this centripetal force? It is the spin of the heart, which essentially means your ability to embody love, and you access love through compassion. Okay, this is very important because what you essentially want to develop in yourself is that every time that you feel a trigger, that your compassion for yourself is so powerful that it takes over and interrupts any illusion of the external trigger so that you can feel that your body, and that you understand, that you know that your body suffers. The only one that suffers is you, internally, physically, biologically, biochemically, as a result of this emotional trigger and trauma. So running old stories of trauma in your mind are extremely disruptive for your system, and they block the vibrational flow in your body so severely. This year is the year to end old stories that you're running. Okay, I have clients sometimes that, they had horrible things happened in their childhood, and they repeat the same story, and it's like in every conversation it'll come up, because it's almost have become a crutch, for what they are, who they are, their identity. And it's almost as if it's an excuse for anything that they believe that they will be judged or shortcoming or is not good enough. This becomes something that they offer, as they present as their identity. Well, this happened to me as a child, so now I'm incapable of, finding the dream job, or getting a relationship, or succeeding in my life, or doing what I really need to do, or finding my purpose, or connecting with source. Okay, so this year, please remember that those programs and those stories that we're running in the back end have got to neutralize. Anyone that continues with those stories as an identity is going to have a very hard time, physically, emotionally, and most important, spiritually, because I want to remind you that these programs and the stories that you're holding, they're not even your stories. They are the stories of our ancestors that we have inherited for generations and generations. Okay? And the question that I want you to ask yourself is this your contribution to the greater whole? Because remember, these old stories are old paradigm beliefs. They're sustaining an old paradigm. They are supporting old ways of being and old geometry, which is no longer in alignment with the alignment of this greater whole at this moment. Because evolution isn't just psychological, it's biological, it's biochemical, it's geometry. It's geometry in the body, because the geometric output is the holographic projection of everything that's written in your DNA. And you are simply running those codes of projection, which are your body, your physical body. So we need to clean up all the blockages that hinder our ability to express this sacred geometry, why it's called sacred. But really, it's this multidimensional part of us that we are now becoming. We are becoming this new human. We are becoming this incredible co-creator of manifestation. Okay, so let's talk about another level. And I talked about this when I was in the presentation in Glastonbury, but I talked about how the heart is this infinity cycle. Okay, so we're taking it back to the biology of our body and the organism. As you can see, this cardiac muscle bundles that kind of move through the arteries here, these create this incredibly beautiful toroidal spin. Remember, the braiding of these spins is what creates the toroidal flow through the body. Okay, important for you to understand. This year is about the heart. That's why this year is about transmutation. It's about alchemy, because alchemy only happens through the heart. Why? Because it's the implosion that is occurring as a result of that centripetal spin where integration happens. All of the things that we see as negative are alchemized and transmuted into a neutral, into the 0 point. And this spin can only happen when we activate 0 point within our body. So the Taoists practice, ancient Sufis practice, the Mayans had the practice. I mean, all of the ancient civilizations talked about how the heart is essentially the key. I mean, we even see it in Christianity and in the deities, okay, of the depiction of the heart lighting up from the center, creating a blue aura around the body. Why blue? Because blue is, so let's look at the flame, okay, the flame of a fire. The hottest point is at the center of the flame. I don't have that image with me here, but it's that blue fire that actually it can be cool to touch. Okay, so the sun, our sun in the solar system, is also functioning in this toroidal centripetal spin. Okay, and the sun actually emanates this incredible blue light. It functions like that. And our DNA, just like the Pleiades, also has a blue sun, because we originate, we have encoded in our DNA this kind of frequency, and solar energies affect the frequencies of our DNA tremendously, which is why we have tremendous activity with the sun this year. The sun is also representing this transmutation, but also the uprising and the healing of the divine feminine. Okay, now we can only integrate within the body these higher flows of energy if the feminine, this is how we know that we're healing the feminine collectively right now, because the feminine is creation. The direct result of the 0 point, which is the integration of these two triangles that create the merkaba, is the implosion. Let me just find that really quickly. Okay, that creates that unity. That's why I talk about the integration of your feminine and masculine is the key to the integration of your highest expression. Because through the heart, through the alchemization of the heart, is where we begin to process the spin movement. Love, when you feel unconditional love in your heart, love is actually that vibrational frequency as a number that implodes this integration of the higher fire, earth, air, and water. And it's a wonderful way of beginning to activate this merkaba light body. So when we talk about death, when we talk about why do I want to talk about this when we're talking about death? Because the transmutation of the trauma is the key to healing and alchemizing ancestral trauma for many generations. We're going to talk about ancestral trauma tomorrow. But this alchemization process is the key to turning your light body on, your merkaba, in which at the time of death, you can then apply the free will to choose a higher octave. Okay, a higher octave experience. This is exactly what we want to embody. And it is through the heart and through the feeling of love that actually allows the vessels of the heart to open up that flow. So remember, when we're in states of fear, everything becomes contracted. Even when we are, in surgery, or when we're healing in the medical, in Western medicine, many techniques are done to bring the body into a state of relaxation and calm for healing as an essential part of the healing process. Because when we come into that state of stress-free relaxation, the energy can move through the body, and that communication of all systems can take place. Unity integration takes place. Okay, so it's extremely important. Now, in running energy, this is why I teach you how to run energy. You bring green life force through the body into the body, and it spins around your body, activating your lower vortex. When you bring source, it activates the higher vortex. And the combination of those two energies, green and gold energy, heal the body incredibly. And it works as a vacuum to push out the debris in all your dimensional layers of your body. And eventually what you want to activate is that heart center. Okay, this is why we close the first three chakras and we open the heart chakra. We open the heart, we open the throat, we open the third eye to move you into this merkaba light body. But the process of healing that happens after that in the meditation, where you begin to look at your triggers and emotions and you bring them back to that 0 point. And we use psychology, we use understanding to transmute this, but everything happens through the heart by expanding the perceptions of trauma that were created, these programs that were created through a limited lens, a limited perspective. And we heal by broadening those perspectives. That is the compassion that you apply to those experiences, to those stories, because you understand that suffering is not just is not something that affects anyone else or even the perpetrator of your suffering. It completely deteriorates and affects your body only. So you're not getting back at anyone. You're not punishing anyone other than yourself. And that is why we say that suffering is always a choice that we have to make and truly, truly decide if we want to put ourselves through the punishment of that suffering, because it really is a deterioration of mind, body, soul. And also generationally, we embed in our genetic code the suffering that we hand down to the next generation. And essentially, we need to open our eyes in this new generation as a new human race that is very responsible and aware of the cause and effect of their actions. So every single one of these thought forms that we have is manifesting into the physical instantaneously. So at this time, I want to invite you to work on coming into that heart center. Okay, so let's quickly go into a meditation, and I will end today's practice there. So let's go ahead and come into a stillness. As you come into a state of complete relaxation and calm, I want you to bring yourself into absolute stillness. Allow yourself to completely relax the body. Completely relax all the muscles from head to toe. Notice your breathing, if you have shallow breath, or if you're able to breathe deeply into the abdomen, allowing the abdomen to rise and fall rhythmically, consciously, intentionally, gently. As you bring in yourself into as still as you possibly can, we're just going to come into this moment of silence as you breathe deeply. Go ahead and start shrinking the root chakra down to the size of a dime. As you begin to shape your lower vortex, go ahead and shrink your sacral down to the size of a dime. Go ahead and shrink your solar plexus down to the size of a dime. Go ahead and open your heart chakra as wide as possible. The throat, third eye, remembering to breathe deeply. Go ahead and bring green life force from the earth up into your body. Rotating and spinning around your body. Go ahead and bring source into the crown of your head, combining with the green earth energy. Go ahead and take 10% back down to the center of the earth and let go of any thoughts, blockages in the body. Imagine that you're clearing those 13 layers of your body, flushing it out. Go ahead and take 80% of that combination up your spine, and from the crown of your head, from your upper toroidal exit, create a fountain, which is that toroidal flow of energy around your body. It's green and gold. Take that final 10% of green and gold energy, bring it into the body now, absorbing into the pores, the flesh, the muscles, the bones, down to the cellular level. Healing the body. Directing that energy to all the parts of the body that require more healing, more attention. Just allow yourself to practice coming into absolute stillness as you feel that running energy through your body. A lot of you will begin to feel a rocking sensation, okay? Because of the spin, you're going to automatically feel that rocking sensation. Some of you are going to feel like you want to make a figure 8 shape, okay? So you are gently moving that source energy through your body. You're naturally aligning with this energy flow. Okay, so allow yourself to organically do whatever it needs to do in order to begin to release in this stillness as you clear as many of those layers out of your body. Okay, breathing. And you want to bring your mind into absolute stillness. Every time it starts to wander off, make it come into stillness. Make it come into focusing on the breath and feel with your entire body the flow of energy. Breathing. Okay. So go ahead and visualize that you're going to vacuum those 13 layers clear. Remember, your layers look like toroidal fields within fields. So you're clearing all 13 toroidal bodies. Breathing. Every single one of those bodies, clear them out. Use your intuition to tune in to where you are holding to that heaviness. And remember that you can also clear your upper bodies, your heart, your throat, your third eye, out through the crown of your head, eliminating out through the top opening of your toroidal body. It all transmutes back to source, which is the 0 point, which is unconditional love. Go ahead and allow yourself to see the emotion that comes up the most for you right now in your body. Identify the strongest emotion. Notice what part of your body is holding that information. What part of your body tenses up or tightens up when you tune into that emotion. Go ahead and notice the second most strongest emotion that comes up to you now. Allow yourself to sit in absolute stillness, gaining the insights of this second strongest emotion. Why do we feel this way? Without going into stories, just and only allow the emotions to emerge naturally without forcing anything, without looking for anything. You are simply observing yourself in absolute stillness to see what emerges when you ask that question. You're not getting stuck in any stories of any kind, past, future. present. Just letting the emotional body speak for itself. Breathing. Remember that your breathing is what is moving your vortex. If you're sitting still, holding your breath, it means that you're in your analytical mind. So you allow the continuous flow of life force through your body when you are breathing from down into the base of the spine, inhaling, exhaling, and still feeling the rotation of the vortex of earth energy and source energy through your body. Do not forget where you are and what you're doing and why. Reconnect and rebalance yourself. Discipline yourself to come back to this state of awareness. As you begin to unpack the emotions that are here in the second emotion, take yourself back to this first time that you've experienced this emotion and begin to open up that memory in a state of absolute observation and not judgment. Again, don't run the stories in your mind, just observe what is happening in order to understand your reaction. You are looking only at yourself. The question that you want to ask yourself as you're diving into these memories is, first of all, is it true based on the belief that you're identifying? So identify your belief that was created by the experience, and then challenge this belief with truth. Is it true? Notice how when you ask that question, your perspective changes. It shifts organically into a more universal perspective. And then this universal space kind of changes the way that we see ourselves and the events that are occurring to us to a higher truth, a higher potential. Notice your reaction to the things that you're observing. Allow yourself to identify, what does this part of you need in order to no longer believe these programs? What does this part of you need from yourself? Excuse me. Allow yourself to see these parts of you that are in separation mindset, in any state of separation. And allow yourself to begin to provide them what they need. Allowing your nervous system to come back to regulation, any heavy emotions to begin to alchemize as you identify the opposite of what you're feeling in this moment. All the negative emotions that have been triggered by the memories, what would be the opposite to this feeling, to this perception, to this state of being? Notice how your body adjusts through the nervous system and muscle system as you come to these understandings and realizations. So now that you have understood very deeply how to alchemize this emotion, begin to visualize that you're going to bring this new understanding into every fractal of yourself that you can access through resonance in this moment that require healing in this lifetime or any other lifetime. Very good. So as these parts of you begin to integrate and heal, go ahead and see this new part of you in front of you, this new integrated aspect as you merge all of the fractals of yourself into one. And I want you to inhale deeply into integrating into your body now. Breathing. Go ahead and anchor into the roots as you open the root chakra back into a balanced state. Go ahead and open the sacral chakra, integrating into the sacral. Go back into the solar plexus, and you have cleaned these chakras already. So just allowing yourself to integrate the healing that you've accessed. Go up into the heart, integrate into the heart, into the throat, in the third eye. Go ahead and open your 7th, your 8th, your 9th, all the way up to the 24th. As you identify the color that is in your crown at this moment now. I want you to see a room full of karmic contracts. You're going to go ahead and dissolve completely, eliminating all of the programs, the repetitive programs of inauthenticity, of self-betrayal, self-hate, self-rejection, self-sabotage, separation, fear, anxiety, anguish, helplessness, hopelessness. Clear all of those programs out. And in the place of this room, you're going to illuminate it with your crown color, setting the intention that everything that we experience from this moment until the next time we sit down is in alignment with our highest expression, with our intentional existence as the embodied source. Allow yourself to come back into the body. Bring source down in through your source cord into the body. You'll notice that you'll feel as if more bands of that light are actually entering into the body. Anchor into the center of the earth now. Bring that source light. So you're bringing the source cord again down through the center opening of your crown of your head, down through the pineal gland, down through the center spinal cord, perineum, and into the center of the earth. And go ahead and activate the chakra in between the heart and the solar plexus, opening the cord that runs through the physical body, that runs around the perimeter of the earth, keeping you in the access of co-creation, the matrix. Okay, and we are infusing as we move through our body this higher intention of manifestation. So go ahead and open your eyes and come back into the room and allow yourself to come back into your body. And I want to thank you so much for joining me today. It was such an honor to be here with you. As always, I'm just going to jump into the chat to see if there's any questions and answer any questions. Let's go ahead and over here. What were you guys able to see any emotion? What emotion came up for you? Marilena, thank you. Did you have a question, my love? Did I miss any question of yours? So great to see you, Marilena. I don't see a question. Let me come down here. Lisa Davies says, happy new moon in Capricorn. Yes, thank you so much. The beautiful images helps to connect. These inside energetic vortices mean to be open, violet, white runways. Focused intention energy does. Yes, yes, it does. Absolutely. Thank you, Lisa. Love says, if self-mastery, sorry, my contacts are getting dry. If self-mastery ultimately results in harmonious, coherent, and high vibration, does that mean that your energy is perceived by others as that? Like various people from around the world looking at the sun? Um, yes, eventually. And this is, for example, what we see when we see light bodies or higher dimensional angelic beings. You know, they have a stronger light body. Monks that meditate a lot have a very strong aura, so they have a luminosity to them. So we definitely do generate life force in the body, and you can pick that up. You can tell when people have a stronger force field. We literally have a stronger cultivated force field. And when this person enters into a room, you can really feel that light body. And that light body is not something that comes from ego, but it comes from that integrated nothingness and wholeness that comes from that unconditional love and compassion that is cultivated over time. Also, the more gray matter that you grow in your brain and in your spinal cord, the more you are able to have that luminosity, because you are able to hold more source into your body. Dinara, I love your name, Dinara. Thank you very much. Geraldine, this knowledge is priceless. Thank you. Andrew B, watched your sessions with Alba and have been hooked since. Appreciate all that you do. Thank you so much, Andrew B1337. It's so wonderful to have you here. What an honor. Thank you. Pono says, we like showing function, but feminine only need apply. Andrew B says, just like that movie, The Fifth Element, fire, earth, and water with love being the fifth element that binds everything. Yes, Andrew, that actually did come to my mind when I was saying that, as a beautiful memory. And that was a wonderful depiction of that, precisely that. Absolutely. That is exactly right. Yeah, it's funny how films kind of disclose these deeper truths, and that's why they resonate so much with you. Unfortunately, sometimes it's an inversion of Hollywood magic, right? That kind of provides lots of secret information inverted in some darker shadow things, that confuse us. But the more we connect with nature, the more that these truths come to the surface, and more importantly, we can embody them as a truth. Lisa Davy, we didn't come here to carry amnesia, baggage of karma, dharma, and trauma. We came here to break it and make the change in being. Be it. Sorry, I'm pumped for this. Yes, Lisa, beautiful. Good job. Let's see here. What other question? Is the green channeled from Gaia, while gold is source? That's right. That's right, Andrew. So this is the modality that I teach a lot about. So the green energy is from Earth. And this is Earth life force. It's creative. It's basically our primal mother DNA. So when you connect to the earth, you're connecting to the Akashic records, your ancestral lineages, and to the greater whole mother, which is you. Earth, you are an extension of earth, essentially. So it's really powerful to tune into that. And of course, when you go to source, this is like your greater father. Okay, beautiful. I just finished a Nori Love. Good to see you. 2 a.m. I was gently awakened to find you here. Thank you, Andrew B. That's so great. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that, guys. I guess you were meant to be. Abby says anger and powerlessness and joy, regret. Wow, those are the emotions that came up for you. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Roy Roy. Very difficult to name the emotion related to body tension. Interesting, Alexander. Very interesting. But it's very important that you name the emotion. It's extremely important because actually, remember that emotions are the vibrational language of the universe. This is how we communicate in higher dimensional planes. Your emotion defines whether you can exist in certain dimensional planes and interact with other beings. So we have to start exercising that language, and it really is the connection between mind body. Okay, so try to, and here's the best way I describe it, try to describe the physical discomfort as an emotion. So if you can think of how to describe that, that would be a really great way to try to do that. Jane says not good enough. Mia says thanks, very amazing. I'm so happy to hear that. Dinar, love and peace. Doug, deep sorrow. Wow, get that out of there. Excellent, Doug. Great for looking at that. So proud of you. Ruta Gur, thank you so much for that super chat. That's so sweet of you. Love you so much. Thank you. Love, love, love. Thank you, Geraldine. You're a blessing. Love you too. Blanca says, you're the best. I love you, Blanca. Thank you so much. In your view, how are feelings and emotions different? Well, feelings are essentially the byproduct of an emotion. So feelings are what we feel in the sensation body as a result of the emotion. I would say the emotion is more the core data that is triggering those side effects of sensations. Okay, so for example, hate would be the emotion, and the feeling would be that really tight, uh, nauseating knot that you have in your stomach as a result of that emotion, or the constrictive chest, for example. So that's how I would describe those two differences. Rosa says, can you speak more about the energy of the earth? Yeah, it's a big topic, but the earth essentially is a mother toroidal field. It is an extension of ourselves, and we are literally like the cells that are populating the earth organism. We are part of the evolution of the earth. So every single human that incarnates into the planet is healing the planet or destroying the planet. They are in charge of bringing the planet into its harmony, its most harmonious state. And so, as you know, everything is cyclical. And this is why we have so many ancient civilizations and the ruins of those ancient civilizations, because every time that we have gone through the cycles of evolution, some civilizations were able to evolve into higher octaves and some not so much. And so we have that history to help us remind ourselves, the product of that disharmony and discord and what it does as a collective. So as we begin to bring ourselves into harmony, we also harmonize with the earth naturally. And remember that the earth is the gateway or the portal through our DNA to access earth DNA, which is the Akashic record, which is all of our ancestral history. So we have our ancestral history, and of course, earth being a portal itself within this solar system, right, is actually, you can imagine each one of the planets as being the cells or the sons and daughters of the sun. Okay, because every single one of those planets has a different charge, feminine and masculine charge. And remember, every single chakra is also connected to every planet. Okay. And so as we heal and activate, and that's a whole nother level, right? So we talked about the chakras connecting to the elements. Well, they are also connected to planets, every single one of the chakras. Okay, so as we heal our organism, as you know, we also heal those planets. We also bring them into harmony. And that is the work of the ascended master, the one that in dream state becomes lucid, begins to navigate their interdimensional fractals of themselves, which is their navigation and healing of the other planets and solar systems. Okay, so Pleiadians, Lyrians, and all of these are portal ways into our genetic data. So yeah, so working with the earth energy is extremely important. Remember that when we ground and connect to earth, we're balancing the positive and negative charges of the body, which really heal the body. They bring the body into harmony. And we want to be fully grounded in this physical body and connected to earth, going into nature, eating natural foods so that we can bring this body into harmony as a collective, and utilize that earth energy for healing. Okay, so so earth's color that it has chosen is the color green. And remember, green is what we use for the heart chakra. It's also the shape that actually creates this three-dimensional plane, which is also the dimension in which the earth exists and operates. So green energy of the heart is actually why this earth is about alchemy. When you come to the planet earth, you experience duality in order to experience contrast, in order to learn how to alchemize that. That's the whole point of the incarnation and the human experience in the third dimension. Okay, so the green energy has a lot of symbolism, and also practical vibrational alchemization that helps neutralize all of the heavy debris that you're holding in your body. And that debris is the inversion of this green creative energy. Green is also creation. It's the feminine. That's why it's called Mother Earth, because it's a mother that births life. That's the product of alchemy. The integration of the feminine and masculine creates the third, the triangle, right? And so that triangle, that third that is being born, is your creation. So humans are extremely creative for that reason, but we have to be extremely careful with what we're creating because we manifest instantly once again. So I hope that kind of helps understand a little bit more about Earth. Thank you so much, Andrew. Love it. I appreciate the added insights. Pure, pretty lady. Thank you, Andrew. Abby says, if I'm usually feeling shame and my crown is open, does that mean that I will manifest more shame since that's what I'm feeling the most? Yes, Abby, absolutely. But I will say a little bit that even though your crown might be active, it's probably not operating at its optimum. And if you look at your crown and you feel shame, then your crown is going to look distorted when you use your intuition to look at it. It's like maybe the front and the left side of it is going to be in whole, or the left side will be whole, but the whole back of it will be very hard to visualize. Okay, so just take a look at the health of that chakra to understand how your body is affected by the emotion that you're feeling. And you can do this with every single one to understand how they're so interconnected. But shame is one of the most paralyzing, contractive energies that paralyzes the entire lower dantian from alchemizing up to the higher. So shame severs the integration of the higher self into the physical. So it's really important that we rebalance that, because it's one of the master emotions of the inverted energy of the lower realms. And so what happens is that, yes, you're going to manifest more experiences that trigger the feeling of shame in you, in your relationships, in, you know, your career, in your everyday life, in the way that you feel about yourself. So remember that whenever one of these chakras are out of balance, they create filters of our perception. And it's always that subconscious belief that creates above anything else. Blanca says, interesting. I saw the emotional body as the one materializing in the 3D, and the feelings being the ones that translate such state, such as projecting or interpreting our thoughts and present. Hold on. Blanca says, interesting. The emotional body as one materializing in the 3D, and the feelings being the ones that translate such states, such as projecting or interpreting our thoughts in the present. Yeah, definitely can be, absolutely. Jerry says, saludos Geraldine, welcome, bienvenido. Timoth Man, hi, thank you so much. Love, love, love. Over the last couple of years, we have advanced from activating 13 to now 24. Is this because the current energies we are moving through? Exactly, love, love, love. So, and I've kind of explained this before, but because of how we are moving into higher octaves collectively, it means naturally that those dimensions are opening up for us. And so we need to learn how to access that information and process it through our body, because otherwise it becomes more challenging and more difficult to heal and alchemize the body if you don't understand what's happening. So it's very important to tune into those things, because inevitably in dream time, we are accessing these higher dimensions. Okay. Meaning the difference between emotion and feeling and my understanding. Yes, I got it, Blanca. Absolutely interesting. I love it. And you're completely right. Well, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. It was such an honor to be with you. I will see you tomorrow with day 8. And so tomorrow, what we're going to be discussing, let me just open that really quickly. As I previously stated, you can watch the beginning of this video where I go through the entire remaining courses that we're going through. So if you guys have questions, go ahead and put them in the chat, capital letters. I will come back to them and I will answer them tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye. Love you. Love you so much. See you then.